day, good afternoon, good evening from the Radiant Professionals Alliance. You're listening to Hydronics Talk, which is a presentation of the Radiant Professionals Alliance. I am your host, Mark Etherton. I've been the Executive Director for the Radiant Professionals Alliance for about almost 3 years now, and I've been a member for the last 20 years. I'm a contributing editor to Contractor Magazine, and I've been an educator for 39 years. I'm a former expert witness and still a current licensed master plumber. However, I don't tell people that because they always say, hey, come over and play cards. And by the way, do you have a closet auditor I can borrow? Quickly cover some rules of the road. If you would please use a headphone with a boom mic, if at all possible. It avoids any feedback if we happen to enable your mic to allow you to ask a question. I would ask that you first enter your question into the Q&A box, which is located in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And if you have any questions regarding the presentation, we'll wait for the end and then bring those questions back up again and have Dennis or myself answer them for you. And very much appreciate you taking time to come in and attend this session. Here's a couple of pictures of some of the stuff that I enjoy doing. This is a radiant wall installation that we did for a Habitat for Humanity project about 20 years ago. If you go to the Department of Energy website and Google hydronic radiant heating, this is the very first picture that pops up. And I'm a firm believer in radiant comfort. I do have radiant floors in my house, and I love them. But if we as an industry are going to increase the amount of radiant comfort that we deliver, we're going to have to start looking to some alternate surfaces, i.e. a radiant ceiling. This is a ceiling in the home that I have up in the mountains that I've written numerous articles about. People know this place is Hydronica, and it's a very comfortable place. It's my research and development laboratory for hydronic and other comfort-related products. This is one of two commercials that you will see during this show until we can get enough sponsorship to the point where we'll have to start charging. This is a request for anybody that is in attendance to please join the Radiant Professionals Alliance. You can get to us at the www.radiantpros.org and click on the join button. It's a measly $300 a year for contractors, which is less than $1 a day, and it allows for 3 employees, so it's about 33 cents per head per day to be a member of this organization. And we are promoting the education, codification, and certification of all radiant heating and cooling systems, hydronic as well as electric. So real quick about the talk show, this happens once a month. We have guests that we bring in and we interview with interesting products. A lot of the time they are members of our organization, sometimes they are not. And then we have an open question and answer session following the interview and answer any questions that you may have in regards to their presentation. These shows are archived for our members only for review at a later date. These shows are basically meant to be fun, educational, entertaining, and did I mention fun? I would like for you, if you have somebody that you would like to see brought on here as a guest interviewee, submit their name to me at mark.etherton@radiantpros.org. Now let's jump into some real quick hydronic news that you can use. The RPA University's spring course offerings are currently available on that URL that you can see on the screen there. And if you'd like to find more information, you can also go to radiantpros.org and click on the flashing button that says Take Me to the Radiant RPA University. And there's a whole bunch of really good classes up there. We've got some excellent instructors. These classes are actually going to be a part of our requisite program in order for people to be able to sit for the ASSE certification process that we're putting together for a certified designer and installer or installer. And if you're interested in becoming certified, I'd strongly recommend that you make a trip to that website and check out some of the classes and some of the instructors. They've all got freebies up there where you're allowed to basically hop on and take it for a test drive, take it up on 2 wheels on a corner if you want to, and see how it handles and see if you're comfortable with the way that the instructors are presenting the materials. And I think that you'll find that we've got some excellent people that are teaching some excellent subjects. And once you get all of this stuff under your belt, then you can prove to us that you've got the time in the field and you can set for the test. We've got some events that are coming up. We have the AHR RPA Annual Education and Business Meeting, which is January 25th to the 27th in Orlando, Florida this year. And this is also the ASHRAE show, what everybody calls the ASHRAE show. And it is jam-packed. I went to the one they had for the last 3 years, and Dennis and I were speaking before the show started about ISH over in Germany. And this is the American equivalent of ISH, and I have never been able to make it completely through the whole show, primarily because I'm stopping and talking to members and old friends that I've known over the last 40 years of being in this business. But in any case, following this show on the 26th, we're actually going to have an RPA social event wishing Dan Holohan a happy birthday and a happy retirement. Dan will be doing his last live presentation at this show for BNP News. And it is, he said he'd keep writing until they close the casket, but this is going to be his last public appearance. So if you'd like to see him, I'd strongly recommend that you come. And if you miss him at that event, you can come to the birthday party / retirement party that we're having for him afterwards at Tommy Bahama's in Orlando, Florida. And reservations are required. We just need to know how many people are coming to make sure that we've got adequate food and drink. And so if you're going to be in the area, I would strongly recommend that you come. All of the who's who of the hydronic industry will be in attendance at this event. Then this spring, we have Tom Grandy and Associates, who's putting together a planning for profit program for us and our members. And it will be in March sometime. We're fine-tuning the exact date right now. And this is a fantastic program. If you're in business, you need to attend this. This man's going to show you how to be profitable and reasonable and efficient, and it's something that our industry is dearly lacking, speaking from personal experience. Quickly need to give you a quick disclaimer. The graphics and illustrations used in this webinar are presented for educational purposes only. RPA-IAPMO does not endorse or recommend the vendor product depicted, nor any vendor or product. RPA-IAPMO makes no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to and assumes no responsibility for the products depicted, and RPA-IAPMO expressly disclaims all liability for damages of any kind arising out of the use or performance of the vendors, products, or services depicted. I'm going to learn how to say that in one breath one of these days, and then I'm going to record it so I don't ever have to say it again. I left a business where I was surrounded by lawyers, and I'm surrounded by good lawyers now when I have to make these things. All right, Dennis, I'm going to pass you the ball. It's on its way to you, and if you'd like to go to full screen, then you can go ahead and key through this as we did yesterday.
Excellent.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and thank you, Mark, and appreciate the opportunity, and as well as the Radiant Professional Alliance, to give us the opportunity to what you called earlier is kind of toot your horn with this. And we feel we got a pretty unique product offering that we're very happy to share here with the audience and those who are going to chime in on our see the recorded webinar here too. So we appreciate the opportunity, and the Radiant Professional Alliance has always been something that I've looked for in education and industry experts in there that help guide me really to this working with the manufacturer of this the product called NextGen, as you can see on the screen there, and their inspiration is what has brought us to this point today. So welcome everybody for attending. I appreciate you taking the time, those who are coming in live, and those who are watching it later. We appreciate your time. Hopefully I'm going to take you down this road of and keep your interest here of a unique product offering that we're having. So the boiler is called NextGen Boiler, and it's quite different than something that you've seen here in the United States. And get some little bit of housekeeping away about me. My name is Dennis Schramel, and I've been employed by Wright Hennepin Electric Co-op for over 25 years. And we're based out of Rockford, Minnesota. But I live short distance away from here, about 30 minutes in Monticello. And kind of my background is really in the electrical engineering side of things, and so I'm definitely not what you'd want to say a mechanical wet head, but I've had a tremendous amount of experience pioneer in the development of electric boilers in the upper Midwest here. And that's really led me down this road here today. So some of the things I like doing, just like most American men, hunting, fishing, and woodworking, get together with family, and finding that it's tougher and tougher to do the first two, the hunting and fishing. But I make my way of getting it done.
Dennis, we're going to call you a wathead, not a wethead, okay?
Yeah, a wathead is perfect.
That'll work for you.
I'm going to use that. Yeah, I'm going to use that.
You could be a wet wathead.
I can just imagine what the caricature of a wathead looks like. We'll have our art department work on that right away. A little bit about WH Response. Now, WH Response is just a subsidiary of Wright Hennepin Electric, and it might be kind of confusing because what the heck is an electric utility doing in the distribution world of boilers, electric boilers in this take? But we did this for the purpose of bringing in revenue to offset our electric rates for our consumers. And it's a page that we took off learning from the others in the utility industry that were looking at diversifying, but it never really took off, especially in California. I think the Enron deal was the catalyst of problematics with diversification or with the electric industry. But so our purpose is to bring revenue. We have about 7 diversified businesses underneath our WH Electric umbrella. So doing engineering, security businesses. We do monitoring across the country of security systems. All these are bringing revenues into our business that's going to offset our electric rates to our consumers, which we do have 46,000 electric accounts currently. And we're 30 minutes west of Minneapolis. We got a very strong portfolio of customers of commercial, residential, and farmer agricultural accounts. So plus with that, we also have the natural gas in our backyard. So we've got an electric utility with natural gas surrounded by us because we're highly metro area. So yeah, just Twin Cities, 30 miles west, and you get right to our front door. A little bit about the manufacturing partner in Kospel. Kospel, which is located in Koszalin, Poland, up by the Baltic Sea. It's a small little town. I'd say about 125,000 people. And Kospel really got its name from Koszalin, and P for Poland, and EL for electric. So it's kind of a unique acronym of how they developed their business name. They're nothing new over there in Europe. Been around since 1990. Employ 430 employees at peak season, and right now most of those employees are working. And I'll give you a little sneak peek into what that factory looks like and a little bit of what this manufacturing partner is very highly regarded and well engineering, equipment, you name it. They have everything automated there. They manufacture boilers, tankless water heaters, and others electric components. But sorry, gas guys, there's no gas products being manufactured out of this. So that's what's endeared me to these guys so much. They distribute over 35 countries, and they've had 2.5 million unit sales. So they're not no new kid on the block by no means. Kind of gives you a little idea of the factory. And the reason I put this picture kind of gives you an idea because no one really knows, if you haven't been to Poland, what does Poland look like? And I would say it looks like northern Wisconsin with some rolling hills and good greenery and trees. But this is their factory. It's a very large facility with 2 floors, and this is where the NextGen boilers are manufactured out of.
See, they have solar on it too.
Yeah, they had some solar panels. In fact, they were dabbling then, Mark, with solar thermal systems, and they did that for a number of years. And of course, that market is dissipating there in Europe because of the push to photovoltaic.
Yeah, that's here too, unfortunately, but we're fighting against it.
Yes, yep. So that's something I think they're going to withdraw from manufacturing in the future, from what I've heard. So Costco, they got, you know, you look at some of this and it gets, I didn't know what to think of when I went to Poland. I've been to Mexico with manufacturers over there, manufacturers throughout the United States, and I was really blown away by this factory and their machinery and the technology that they use to go into their products. Just really state of the art, and that was very important for their owner, Mr. I'm gonna mess up his name, so I won't try it there. Lukashek, and he's an engineering type, and he wanted to make sure that he had the best of all the equipment to manufacture his products. So what's unique about it is they produce 90% of the components that are put in the NextGen boiler. And as I bring you through this webinar, you're going to see the OEM components through Velo, through Zilmet, and others that are part of it. But the heat exchanger, the elements, and the software, everything is all developed by them. It's not farmed out to a third party or third world country and then having to any changes that need to be made need to be done, 6 months to 12 months later. These guys can make any changes immediately. So it's reassuring for us that they control their quality control. Kind of gives you a little idea of the factory floor of the lathe area. But when I went through there, I've been there 3 times now, and every time I've gone there, the floors look exactly the same. Everything is super, super clean. They take great pride, the Polish people do, in producing their products there. And this is basically, Mark, you made reference to it earlier, how they got the checkerboard or the plaid shirts and the overalls, and that's just their makeup of their workers, their factory workers.
That's the master. The masters get to wear them. The apprentices get to wear the white shirts that they show here.
Yep. Yeah, so it's kind of, you get a little hierarchy control right there. This video or this picture just kind of gives you an idea of just further the quality control of testing the boilers. Everyone is pressure tested. Everyone is quality controlled and fired and then rechecked again after it's taken off the wall. So it's one of those things that obviously most manufacturers are going to be doing, but they certainly aren't missing a step in doing that. Kind of a different segue, but I wanted to just kind of point out, the opportunities. We got electric heating, and electric heating may not be at the forefront of contractors' mind or homeowners' mind, but in the next few slides I'm going to show you are going to be something that might raise an eyebrow and kind of go to you like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know electric was that prominent throughout the United States. And it is. And thanks to the Business Insider here, the U.S. Census Bureau, we've obtained these slides here. And you can see the gap here of heating fuel, of electricity is widening here. While the natural gas, the big brother big natural gas guys, is kind of staying, it's growing, but declining here in the last 3-4 years. So as electric utility, we always like to see that, but as a consumer, everybody's left to believe that electric is so expensive, but there is options out there that can reduce the operating cost, which I'll touch on. So we look at the heating market, and you kind of look at what natural gas definitely has the foothold of the market share of 56 million houses, but that 38 million households is being heated by electricity. So obviously 38 million homes don't feel it's too expensive to operate. And then you follow that with water heating and cooking and the clothes dryer. So they got a good market share, electricity does. Let me look at fuel type by region. This kind of really narrows down. This is something that I kind of found through the U.S. Energy Information Administration, and it really opened my eye. And to look at each segment of the country, each region, if you will, and where you can see how natural gas here is very prominent in the Northeast, where electric is lower. You get to the Midwest, and I was very surprised by seeing that graph. That in Midwest is where historically we have sold 10, probably 12 to 14,000 electric boilers. So it's kind of surprising to see that being so low. The South, you see the electric is much higher in homes that are heated by electric, and it's probably to do that you got less heating degree days, you got probably just less heat needed, so you're not putting perhaps more baseboard or other electric radiator type systems. And then the West is kind of in the middle of the ballpark there. So overall, electricity in the United States, it's climbing versus the natural gas, and it's going to be really interesting to see as we fast forward here into what's going to happen with natural gas with the power plants going offline on coal and going over to natural gas, and what's going to happen with that fuel consumption or that energy or that natural gas rate that follows it too. So
it's the supply and demand rule. It's going to go up.
Yeah, it's going to go up. Yeah. And so, there's opportunities there with electric, kind of the next slide is going to give us a little idea, just a quick little glance of it. And you might follow the listeners there, might see where they're located. And much of the United States is below, 22 states are below 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And just recently, our rate, we had a stable rate for a number of years here at Wright Hennepin Electric. And we had a general service rate that recently has gone up, but it held steady for 20 years. And our off-peak rate recently went up again too, and that was steady for 24 years. So when you've been here as long in the tooth as I am, and you have that rate change, I'm still quoting the old electric or energy rate charge, so per kilowatt hour. So something that I got to get used to. So as you see, the whole South region here has very low electric rates, and I'm sure you got some coal fired power plants, Kentucky, West Virginia area, as well as you got the North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming coal fields out there. So those are great opportunities in those states. But mind you, there's definitely opportunities for this product line, which I'm going to get into here shortly, that you don't need such a big workhorse to do the job. It could be some of the radiant panel walls that Mark showed that he probably displayed, and or the radiant ceilings where you're going to need maybe a smaller application on. So there's a lot of opportunities here for this boiler. Bring this slide up because it's amazing how I come across people, contractors throughout the United States, in particular in the upper Midwest here, that really don't understand the BTU content, especially with electricity, and they understand it in watts or kilowatts, but really can't, bust the glass, if you will, of how to figure out how many BTUs are in a kilowatt. Well, right here is basically the formula of just taking, there's 3,413 BTUs in a kilowatt. So I got a kilowatt hour, that's a little mistake there, but gives you the idea of how that, because you have everything as a common denominator is the BTU. However, natural gas sold in therms, propane is sold in gallons, and oil is sold in gallons. But one common thing they have is that BTU. So really is you need to break it down on the BTU content, which I'll show you here in this next slide. And this is really, and I think my next slide will show you the cost components of each of these fuel types. But you see electricity there at electric, and that's at a per million BTUs is our comparison. So when that home uses 1 million BTUs, this is basically the cost unit of $32.08 for that same 1 million BTUs in reference or comparison to natural gas, propane, and oil. So oil is not as sought after. However, you get out into the Northeast, what I've learned is a great deal amount of oil used out there, and slowly getting switched out over to natural gas. And then you got the propane. But one factor here is that some utilities will offer is what they call as off-peak rates. And off-peak rates is basically a way for the electric utility to sell the power. But what they do, they have a control that they manage the electric boiler off of their peak, and then a backup boiler perhaps, or a backup gas system serves as a backup. So it handshakes it right over to the fossil fuel backup system. And many of the homes here in the upper Midwest are not entire radiant heating applications, be it slab, be it ceiling, be it wall. They are comprised of a mixture of a hybrid of forced air heating and radiant floor for the lower level of the basements. And I can't tell you how many thousands of applications that we've seen with that type of method of heating versus maybe you get out into like Mark, your area, you get more of the traditional whole house radiant systems.
Yeah, I think that actually Uponor started that program, and it was called Radiant Ready.
Oh, sure.
Basically, what the contractor did is he went in and for X amount of dollars provided the insulation, the mesh, the tubing, and then he poured concrete over it, and he left a manifold and said, whenever you're ready, I'll come back and make a connection to this, set a boiler, do whatever we have to do. A lot of people don't even realize they have it. With homeownership being 2.3 years, they don't even realize that they have it. They look at it and they go, that must be a part of the plumbing.
Yeah.
And, have no idea what they have in the way of a potential comfort system there. But that actually had one of our members in New York started doing that on his own in condos. He was working on these condos that were forced air, and he convinced the general contractor to allow him to deal direct with the homeowner and provide an add-on that the GC also made money on to do Radiant Ready, because the houses were all being set up with forced air. And he said that about half the people came back to him later and said, I want to go with your hydronic system, come back here and give me a bid. And it was a pretty good program. So that's great to see that.
Yeah, it's it'd be nice to get the whole entire house, but I'm sure you've seen this throughout your 40 years in this business is, people who have it in their system, in their home, they kind of go, and I can speak to this volumes with this because this happened in my same home. And my thing with radiant heating is I had it I have it in the basement. My wife says, well, I don't think we need to put this in and boiler. And I go, believe me, we will. This is what I do for a living. We're going to do it. So long story short, she's down on the computer on our third level with floor heating in there. And she goes, I am so glad I didn't talk you out of this. She goes, now can you put it in the kitchen? So it's the coulda, woulda, shouldas of Radiant that you hear that either from, you got to keep up with the Joneses because they have Radiant, or I had experienced that at Dennis's home and I want to have that in my next home. So it's just, I think it just sums it up. The slide at the very end of my presentation is going to sum this all up for us. And it's really what captivated me with radiant heating is just the pure comfort of it. Yeah. And of course, you got to have comfort in paying for the bill too. And this is kind of what I'm kind of trying to point out here with the cost components on electric. So you factor in off-peak rates, and you kind of look here at the lower area here. I got basically the national electric rate is 10.95 cents per kilowatt hour, and then you got natural gas is really, this is probably not a regional thing for the listeners. It's more of it's a national average from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. But propane now is low, and propane I would say is around the $1.50 in the Minnesota market here, and so at $2.47 it's a national average. That's typically what we see in the wintertime is around that $2.50, $2.85 a gallon. So this makes these two comparisons very close, and then if you factor in off-peak. They may call it off-peak electric. They may call it load management. They may call it time of use rates. but it's something for the contractors out there to look at ways that, depending on where the homeowner is, they may have off-peak rates available through their electric utility, their power district, or their investor-owned utility that are scattered throughout the United States. But
I have it available at my Mountain REA power system, but I don't have it available to me in Denver, and I wish I did.
Oh,
and I've talked to XL Energy as our primary power supplier here, and they really need to do something in the way of load management, but I think it's just too onerous on them to think about the hassles associated with trying to convert everybody from a primary to a primary secondary system and being able to control it, whatever. But I think you're going to see a lot more utilities going to this. It's too hard for them to turn their generators up and down, and if they're making it and nobody's using it, it's not doing them any good.
Exactly. And then, you factor in, this is what they, in some parts of the country, they may call dual fuel, where the dual fuel obviously is electric with propane, natural gas, oil backup. So that there might be other terms that they use out there too. But, some guys are looking at, I know in northern Minnesota, you get into, they kind of do some slab storage of heating that slab up at night. And so they operate the boilers at between 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. Of course, you got to factor in a little bit more difference with, you only have an 8-hour charge capacity, so you got to factor in some of that in some calculations. But that's how they use that to kind of push them through to store all that energy in the floor. It's kind of the old way of electric cable heating of the Delta Thurn, Brisk Heat, and other companies that are still out there.
I've also seen the EPIS systems, the brick systems. We've actually tied some systems in that had that electric element with the fire bricks in the insulated box that had copper water pipe on the inside of it. So it was essentially a hydronic-driven base system that it was interesting.
That company out of North Dakota, they highly respect that company, Steffes Corporation there, that who developed that.
EPIS, Steffes, not EPIS. I was thinking of the installation, EPIS.
Yeah, you're close. So the off-peak rates are out there. And kind of one of the things I want to put to the listener's mind is that, if you're putting a gas boiler in to do the same amount of work electric, that gas boiler often is going to be twice as expensive on the front end, let alone the time element to install. So you have to factor all that in, and you're still going to deliver the same comfort, of course, with either system. But, like Johnny Barba says, you got to do the math. Sometimes you got to do the math on the energy cost too, and then the front end cost of the equipment, unitary equipment. So the rating opportunity, and there's tremendous amount of opportunity, and I think it's just the people that are fighting through the builders, and sometimes the builder can be the stumbling block of getting this home as either in a radiant ready or basement application. You can see, looking at throughout how many homes are being built with a basement is kind of coming down, but slab on grades going up. I don't know if that's maybe the baby boomer generation. Some of that is coming to play, one level living. And then you got, it's just crazy how many garages are heated now with radiant floor, and or how many shops. And in fact, my shop is all heated with a NextGen boiler, and it's amazing what kind of opportunities is out there. And I'm sure I didn't put anything out here for radiant wall or radiant ceiling here, but obviously you got that opportunity with this product as well. One thing, kind of, how's the electric boilers, where's their place today in a gas boiler world? And, I kind of tell guys is that electric products is the only thing that's going to work with the renewables. There certainly aren't going to be any gas systems other than the motor controls. And so depending on where photovoltaic takes us in the future and growth, there's definitely going to be room for electric heating as the main source of primary heating for customers' homes.
Yeah,
this happens to be a picture of our, sorry?
This fits perfectly into the government's program of net zero buildings. You can't spin a gas meter backwards.
Right, yep,
but
exactly.
You can spin an electric meter backwards, so this electric boiler spins forward when it's using, but when the panels are producing, it spins the meter backwards and can take you to a net zero consideration. So it's definitely the future.
Here we have, I'm showing a picture of we were one of the first utilities in the nation, and we're doing a solar community system where customers would lease their solar panels versus purchasing them, because their home may not be a perfect solar site. They might be covenants with issues with putting those on the roof or on the ground, and so customers just use our solar field and purchase that solar power right from us, and they own it for life as soon as they purchase that panel. So it's a really unique concept there. All right, well, this is what we've been waiting for. Let's see what the nuts and bolts of the NextGen boiler is. And on the front end of it, you can see it's a nice, isn't it just something? It's a nice clean cabinet, and we'll bring you through some of the benefits. Although the road to UL was very interesting for me, the first time I ever experienced them down there in Northbrook. Super people, and we wanted to make sure, working with the manufacturer, that A before B and B before C, to make sure that this boiler would be compliant on the first run through, and it certainly was. And we got our UL certified on September 2014. So after that, then the balls get moving into marketing and development of materials, and can start developing your market a little bit. So very pleased. We got a UL designated 834 on it, and one thing to note, it didn't require H-stamp. We were kind of surprised by that. We thought UL would require that, but it's something to do with the heat exchanger thickness or the size of it, that it didn't qualify under the ASME stamp requirements. However, there may be locations, municipalities that do require H-stamp regardless, but this one doesn't fall in that camp. So any questions on that, please give me a call. So I've taken this slide basically off of the thought of, not the slide, but the build it or buy it concept from a man I really admire, Mr. Robert Bean. And, it's something that his message to me through the RPA and through listening to him speaking and through his Healthy Heating website, that I kind of come to the thought that, this makes sense. So where can I find a manufacturing partner to make this happen? So the problem is here on the left, you got the build it concept that guys are doing, and that might be a very abstract art way of depicting your sweating ability, or maybe perhaps copper was on sale, but really we want to get down to the installer to show that you can have a professional installation and combine it in one prepackaged, pre-assembled, and pre-engineered boiler installation. So I'm going to take you inside this cabinet here a little bit and kind of give you an idea, but everything I got circled there is in this boiler. Air vent, relief valve, expansion tank, pump. We have a pressure, you can see this pressure gauge. It's kind of tough to see, but we have that integrated right in here, which I'll share with you. And as a homeowner, basically all they want is heat, but think of which one does the customer want to buy? Which one would they want to stand by? The one on the left can be, I'm sure it works, but a homeowner, they're kind of going, do I need to have Billy the plumber in here hanging out and living with me to repair this if this ever fails? Or how they look is how the NextGen is very treated as an appliance, and that's what Robert Bean and Dan Holohan has kind of said. Hey, in Europe they treat it as appliances. So I'm kind of giving you hopefully this works, because to kind of give you an idea of the NextGen boiler, a mechanical piping. This is a time-lapse photo, and this may not work, so I'm going to alert the viewers right away. But what we did is we're beginning of a YouTube video, and you must have fell off your chair, Mark.
No, I'm here. It's not going to work. It's going to run. We've had issues with videos on this channel before.
Yeah, so this may work, but I'll go to the
It'll work
next.
on YouTube. It just won't work on there.
Okay. And we don't have it up on YouTube, but I was hoping maybe it works, but through the power of the webinar, it's not working. So, but really, I'm going to kind of step you through what, in your mind's eye, what we did there is we had a contractor put in our boiler, and then he put a competitor boiler in. And you'll see this on YouTube, and we'll have them side-by-side screenshot of it. And we have a time clock, or not a time clock, a clock hanging on the wall next to the installation. And you can see the second hack moving. It's pretty interesting watching that go through the time-lapse photos. It took this contractor 43 minutes to install our product, from mechanically hanging it on the wall to piping it down to the manifold. 43 minutes. Versus we did it with a competitor's boiler, which will remain nameless, but it doesn't matter. It would be any electric boiler other than the NextGen, and it took them 3 hours and 20 minutes to install it. So that is really a game changer when it comes to the contractor, because they have limited resource of labor. Either they only can duplicate their labors by hiring additional staff, which results in a great deal of overhead too. So it's just, we want to put that the easy installation that this product will make it easy for the contractor.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yes, exactly. That's what our CEO has always told me. He says, work smarter, Dennis. What are the benefits? So really, this is I kind of took this from Robert Bean, but also got a quote there from Dan Holohan. He goes, the tradesmen build it. They build it on site. And how many times have we heard that guys really don't know what their overhead cost is of their labor, and versus businessmen buy it? And that's kind of what we want to get in people's minds there, is that you can still deliver the same comfort, but you can do it faster. And that helps, save on labor, so you can get over to the next job.
You hit the nail on the head that most contractors have no idea what the cost of doing business is, and they really don't value their labor. They figure that they're going to have to pay themselves anyway, so just work and get it done. And in reality, if you use a boiler in a box like you've got, you could get 2 boilers installed in one day instead of just 1. And
exactly right.
Double the income and cut your work in half, and spend the rest of the time with your family, or fishing and hunting and woodworking, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Love that. Yeah, so in Dan Holohan in the Supply House Times, this is all that I've read, in the lead up and the build up of getting this product over and done. And he stated, European contractors don't treat each hydronic system as if it's the first in the world. And that's something that's always kind of resonated with me going. And after being over in Europe, I was and then coming back here to the States at ASHRAE in Chicago here last year, I'm sitting here with one of the salespeople from Costco, and I was kind of grilling him on some of these things, just trying to get more in-depth knowledge. And he goes, Dennis, I don't know that. I don't know how this works exactly. That's more engineering guys will know that. He goes, I just sell boxes.
Exactly.
I stopped and I went, exactly. That's exactly. You're just selling appliances. You're selling a box here to provide comfort for the homeowner. So let's open the door to this baby here and see where we're at. And you can see just from the clean looks of the product there, you have a stainless steel heat exchanger, a Velo circulator, 3-speed pump. And what you can't see, kind of difficult here, you can see my arrow there, that there's an expansion tank, and a Zillmet flat expansion tank on the back side of it. We have a flow sensor. That's no impeller, and I'll dig into that a little bit more. And we got a pressure sensor that's giving us a digital readout here. So we got no T&P gauge in the system. And you have an air vent on the top, a differential bypass, Y strainer, magnetic, relief valve. That's an Apollo device right there. So that's an ASME Apollo device here. And you got some safety height limits and stuff. And there's a lot of brains behind here, but we're going to take you into each one of those components here. But first, kind of give you a little idea here, and I'm sorry for the screen may be compressed here from going through the WebEx, but we have 5 boiler models at present right now. So we got anywhere from 13.6 to 49,000 BTUs, and that might not help the guy in the large commercial application, but those are really slotted for that basement application, that garage, those carports, those areas that I explained earlier where most of that market is. And in the future here, we're going to see some larger boilers coming here in 2016 up to about, I think, around 36 kW. Temperature ranges, we're going to be slotted really in that radiant world of 85 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're going to see that it's very, very compact. It's kind of difficult to see if you see just the box as it is right there, it's kind of difficult to see the really dimensions, but 28 inches tall, 17 inches wide, and only just under 10 inches deep. So it's a very small package. It weighs about 70 pounds. So it's something that a guy can put in some leg screws right on plywood or whatever backing he has, and hang the unit right on there. Piece of cake.
Question for you, Dennis.
Yes.
Go back one slide if you would. The temperature range of 85 to 140 degrees, can it be operated at a higher temperature, or would they have to buy a low temp baseboard if they were going to use a convector?
Great question. Yes, they'd have to buy low temp baseboard because that's our maximum operating temperature that UL designated for this product.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. When we get the larger BTUs here coming up, we'll look at higher operating ranges here.
Okay.
So we can do a little more retrofit with.
I thought that was a limiting factor on it, and just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah, very good. So the stainless steel heat exchanger there, I believe it's a stainless steel 304 type stainless, and it's got some union fittings. It may be difficult to see. We'll show you on the other slides again. But basically, it has 3 elements. So here's 1 element, 2, and 3 elements. Each model, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 14.4 kW have 3 elements. They just have different resistance that or watts to that determine the kW output of the unit. So basically, how this works is like a lead lag of the operator, the firing of the elements. So on the first time call up, you may get all elements come on, but as that boiler reaches its operating temp, the next sequence of heat, it'll fire maybe element number 1 and 3, or the next sequence and it might fire 2 and 3. So it's kind of like a revolver that you're never beating up one element more than the others. They're equal sharing the amount of power that they have to fire. So that's going to help longevity of the elements. And believe me, these elements are sandwiched in here real nice. And the manufacturer has developed their own elements because they wanted a highest quality of product in their heat exchangers. So these are all the element connections. And I may have to go back a couple of slides, but each one of these that are wires are connected is all induction welded. So it's kind of like fused, like like gas piping or like geothermal piping, where it's just basically fused together. So you don't have thank you. Yeah. So you gotta have no hot spots there that can have any problems down the road. Bring you to the circulating pump. It's a Velo circulating pump, and I don't know how many times I've heard people across the country go Wheelo, but it's pronounced Velo. And it's a Star 21 pump, and this is all prepackaged. Again, it's all pre-wired, but you still need 120 volt feed into the boiler. And I'll get into the next slide. I'll show you that connection on there. This has a 20-second post-purge on it, so once our temperature is satisfied, our thermostat is open, there's that pump's going to run to kind of just circulate the system, moving away the heat from the heat exchanger, regardless of the zone valves closed, that you got your loop right there, primary loop, just slowly dissipate that heat throughout the system. Also, what's a unique feature that's built into the control panel is the exercise for this pump. So there's an option that when the homeowner were to shut out the system on the power button on the control panel, the pump will get exercised once every 24 hours. So this pump is going to move, and it's going to move everything throughout the hydronic loop, the primary loop of the system, just to keep things fluid, anything from sediment will get drawn down to that Y strainer. Here's the pump curve. And the pump curve is not going to be a one-size-fit-all, because all these, depending on delta T that you're designing for, your length of pipe, size of pipe. However, once you're doing your math there, you got to determine if this pump is going to be able to meet the characteristics of your radiant design. Oftentimes it can, but if it can't, we have a solution. So think of this, it could be your primary pump for your whole entire system, dependent on your design. We made it easier by putting that primary secondary pump power board in there. So if we take you through some more details on this, you get the 120 volt feed power comes into the top. That's a single phase, 120 volts. And then you have two fuses, and pump 2 is what can go into a secondary pump. So closely spaced T's or hydraulic separator, and you can get yourself into another pump. You don't have to worry about a relay or third-party controls or electrical contractor to wire a relay in here. You can just pull that pump power right off of here and fire up that secondary pump. So just a nice feature in there to save time. And again, you want to refer to available pump chart to determine if your primary pump meets that system design. If not, use a primary, secondary, or other means to meet your radiant characteristics. Give you a little bit of thing on the flow sensor. This is an extremely accurate sensor, and it has no impeller in it. It's all works off of a vortex flow, and this is made out of a company out of Switzerland. Huba, I believe, is the name of the company, and it's going to read the supply water temperature on our control panel. So there's no moving parts. You just see here, there's just basically you got a temp sensor, and then one of them is a temp sensor. Which one? I have no clue. But the other one's going to read flow. It does it through some harmonics way that it transmits that over to the control panel and gives you the readout. So that's kind of a nice feature that you can get flow rates coming across the system flow coming across the control panel. So I would think many of the manufacturers here, boilers in the United States, be it electric or gas, would benefit for such a device. I know tankless water heaters have flow switches, but impeller driven.
There's actually a standard that's being developed right now to manufacture these flow sensors by, and Calefi and numerous other large manufacturers have been a part of that committee. I think it's an ASSE committee. In any case, it's due out real soon, and they will actually have a standard that pertains to these sensors. So you'll probably see more hydronic component manufacturers that are jumping onto this bandwagon. And I know that there's a whole bunch of solid state control manufacturers out there that are listening in and building controls that are compatible with these flow sensors. So it's going to change our market. And you'll be able to see people installing, as an example, one of your electric boilers that might service 2 buildings. And both buildings will have separate energy consumption factors because you've got flow, you've got temperature differential, which equates to BTUs. And so everybody gets billed accordingly.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that, kind of the BTU metering on that. Very interesting. Bring you back to the back side of the boiler and kind of give you an idea. Here's kind of a cutaway here in the lower left-hand corner of the flat expansion tank. And this is kind of taking a look from the on the undercarriage of the unit, if you will, of the Schrader valve where that's located. It's a 1.6 gallon working capacity boiler that's pre-charged at 14 psi. So it's pretty unique when you bring it out to the wholesalers or contractors. You run out there to the contractors with the wholesaler, and they're just go, oh wow, that's neat. You got everything in here, but no expansion tank until you kind of you hit your fingers on the back side of that, and they hear the ting ting of that expansion tank, and they go, very, very cool. So kind of a nice way to make that all a boiler room in a box. The air vent, of course, you got to have an air vent located at the highest point. That's already there. Gives you, it may not be your, what you want to say is your top of the line air vents, but it's perfectly situated for air that's going through the system to get purged out of the system here. Here again, this is where I kind of talked about the heat exchanger there. You got the those induction welded connections on top of the elements. Safety relief valve. This is an Apollo safety relief valve, and I wanted to update the photo, Mark, but I just forgot about it. That was my little note to myself. So I really did. I was going to put some 3/4 inch stick of pipe on there.
Updated photo. I thought maybe it was just misspelled. Yeah. Updated photo with piping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's one of those things that you think you got everything prepared, but it's not. Because I'm waiting for somebody to say, well, he doesn't have that pipe down within 6 inches of the floor. A magnetic Y strainer, as you've seen from the other photos there, is in there, and it's got an arrow to, obviously it's pre-installed to show the direction of the flow, but kind of a cutaway view of that with those powerful magnets in there. And one of the first systems that we tested here as we're doing our due diligence with companies from overseas, and then our own testing here, we have 500,000 watts of electric cable in the floor of our warehouse where I'm sitting right now, and we have very little PEX piping, so we have put a water fan coil unit up, and that fan coil unit was dirty, and because the ferrous components were trapped on here. It was just full of sediment. Could not believe what that held. And there, we just cleaned it up, washed it with water, put her back in, purged, filled, and up and running again. Kind of taking some of the, the high limits, which is a very important thing for UL wanted to see in here, and it's something that I learned a great deal about, trip-free high limits, and so no one can defeat this, but it's a high limit that is just surface mounted. So what's nice about that with if you ever did get failure of this component, you don't have to depressurize the system to change it, unlike some other competitors' products. It's all surface mounted. And you also have the 160-degree high limit. It's an auto set high limit that's right below it. So this will take out shut down the boiler completely. And obviously both of them are going to work and shut down the boiler from heating if they do open up.
So your solid state control is your primary controller, then that 160 is your secondary high limit, and then the manual reset's your final safety.
Yep, exactly right. Yep. And so you got redundancy in safety controls built into it.
Belts and suspenders.
Some line voltage. Say again.
Belts and suspenders.
Yep, you got it. So you got your electrical wiring connections coming out the top left or the right of the boiler with some 3/4 inch knockouts for the main feed wires, and then you got some 1/2 inch knockouts for pump wiring, and right below that you'll have some 1/2 inch knockouts for the low voltage wires for the thermostat, outdoor reset that's built into this unit, and as well as op-heat controls if they're applicable. So it just gives you a little idea without, this is going to give you just an idea of current of ampacity of the breakers that are needed and required for each model type. So pretty simplistic. It's just basically wiring into the circuit board for the pump, wiring the power into the boiler, and then doing your low voltage for firing the boiler accordingly. It kind of gives you that little bit of depiction of controls on here that you see the off-peak controls, and normally you're going to see a jumper wire right here, a white jumper wire, because not all parts of the country or Canada are going to have off-peak capabilities from the utility. So that'll be in place. If it is an off-peak condition, they remove that jumper, extend 2 wires out to the utility off-peak rated receiver that's often located on the outside of their home. This is, these are all dry contacts here too, by the way. So we want to put no voltage on here. Then you got your thermostat or end switch or control panels, whatever is that you're utilizing to fire the system up is going to be coming across the TNT connections. And then last, you have the temperature exterior for the outdoor reset. And every one of the NextGen boilers has outdoor reset capability. Everyone is shipped with a sensor. So if they want to set their boiler up with outdoor reset, it's ready to go. If you don't want to, it just runs as a manual boiler. It doesn't see that resistance of that 10K resistor coming here. Then it comes just into a manual boiler system. The control panel of this is really what's unique in comparison to other electric boilers that I've come across. And I've come across very good electric boilers, some great manufacturers here in Minnesota. And so there's, but this one really sets it apart because the universal hydronic formula, if you will, is kind of there. You have to do the formula, but it's kind of there for the taking. And I've kind of step you through. We have a BTU output, so when the installer hits the parameters of this right button, the BTU light will indicate, and then you'll get 13132, which is a factor of 13,200 BTUs at the time. You would continue to scroll through the parameters and know what your inlet temperature is and your outlet temperature is. Continue to scroll, and you know what your flow rate is going to be. So you get the GPM indicator, and you know what your flow rate is going to be. So you can see exactly what's going on with this system by the control panel. Not only that, but you can also set your supply water temperature here with the radiator symbol. The up and down arrow is going to change that parameters from that 85 to 140 degree output that you're trying to target. Also has the PSI indicator here. So when that is lit, you're going through the parameters. It'll tell you exactly what your PSI range is at any given time on the system. So you'll see in some of the our literature that you won't see a pressure temp gauge in these systems. And that's something that the contractor is probably not going to forego installing because he's not used to this system. They're continuing to put it in, but it has it built into it. You have the thermostat, some other connections here with the light on this house will light up when there's a thermostat call for heat. The pump, it needs a minimum of 1.1 GPM to fire, so it proves itself through that flow sensor, and then you'll see this light turn green on here, and the unit will fire accordingly. So there's a lot of safety features, not only that we talked about Mark on the high limits, but you also have safety features that it has to have a 7 PSI or above, so it acts as a low pressure cutout. And it also has a minimum flow rate of 1.1. So you got to have all these systems in place for the unit to fire. So very unique control panel. And this control panel, by the way, is the same one that works in all 5 NextGen models. So it's no need to get a NextGen 4 control panel. That same control panel can work in all of them. So it's a nice feature that doesn't take any programming.
Yes, I saw my good friend and fellow wethead/watthead, Kurt Albershort, asked a question. Do you have the ability to be able to do a boost on this control?
Boost output temperature?
And morning boosts, system's coming out of setback, and all of a sudden the zones open up and it starts drawing it down. I would assume that you'd see that drop in temperature and fire more elements.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just going to see that widen drop across the boiler, and all elements are going to be firing for the duration of until that inlet temperature comes warmer.
Is this a PID control? Or just PID?
Help me out with that terminology.
Proportional, integral, and derivative.
I couldn't tell you.
Artificial intelligence. It's probably just proportional and integral. So if the deviation between the set point and the actual temperature is 30 degrees and all three elements are on, and then as the delta T becomes less, then it drops elements and eventually shuts it down. Yeah,
and then what it'll do is basically about a 4-degree differential is where on the inlet and outlet, or upon firing, it sees that 4-degree differential, now it'll fire again. And so that's basically how the operation of the system works with the control panel. But it's a very unique feature that when guys start playing around with them, they can see what's going on in their system at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
So, fill and purging the boiler, if you had 240 volts applied to the unit, and sometimes it's the chicken or the egg concept. Does the electrician pre-wire it and have it done there, or is the boiler get installed, So if you had 240 volts there and your unit's there, you can power the boiler up. It's not going to fire even with the thermostat call because you've got no water in it. But as you fill it and purge it, you can adjust. You can see you're going to, when you put 240 volt power to, you're going to power up the control panel. Now you're going to be able to see these readings, what's going to go on with pressure, what's going on with your flow rates. Even as you purge and fill the system, and you do your final purge, and you set your pressure rating at 15 psi, you're going to see that come across the boiler. Each one, like I said earlier, is an outdoor reset capability, and so it's only the feature that you can have to program, and it basically has nine curves to follow, and with an offset of plus or minus 9 degrees. So it's a nice feature for cruise control on the highway there to save some energy, and it's incorporated in every product, in every NextGen boiler, versus I think some of the other products out there in the market are probably an add-on that you'd have to do. It further incorporates a warm weather shutdown that's adjustable to 30 to 70 degrees. And I've had some people throughout the country ask to widen that, maybe get it up to around that 75, 80 degree mark. And so I'm kind of going, that's interesting. I go, why is that concept? Yeah. I go, well, they're going for that elderly lady that's sitting there wanting warm floors when it's 70 degrees. They still want to have a warm floor. I'm going, okay, I get it. And then I get another contractor tell me, well, we're not putting systems in for elderly ladies. And I'm going, well, then you're missing an opportunity. So here it kind of gives you an idea of the curves, and you can follow whatever roadway you want to follow based on your system design. And rather than elaborating on every this for sake of time, it shows you have 9 curves that you get into the programming feature of this control panel. And then you get that 9 degree offset. So you can really dial in temperature based on your design. Like I said earlier, too, the circulating pump has an exerciser in there, so that's going to operate once every 24 hours. So you set off the main power button here, and I'm going to go up a couple screens. You set off this, you hold that for 3 seconds, the boiler shuts down basically, and then there's will be a little LED light that's going to come right in this area, and it just shows you it has the exerciser is going to run. Now, if the customer or the homeowner shuts off the breaker, obviously that exerciser is a moot point.
It's a problem. It's the first question I always ask when they say I don't have any heat: is the power on?
Oh, yes, yeah. That electrical panel, where's that?
Kurt also asked a question about that 9 degree differential, that split differential that you had. Can you explain that a little bit more, your offset?
Well, that's really, because you're going to be on that highway of the temperature here. You can see there's different, you got it, it's tough to see on here. You got 110 degrees, you got about 95 degrees. It basically, that offset can dial you in between here. a little bit tighter.
Is that its differential? Is it adjustable?
Yes, totally adjustable. Yep, from 1 to 9 degrees,
Okay.
or 0 to 9 degrees, I should say. So yeah, I can bring you on that path to dial that right into where you want to target to based on your system design.
So that's basically a shift that you can do.
Exactly right. That'd be a better way of saying it. Yep.
Yeah, Kurt says it's a fine-tuning knob, which would be basically
Yep.
You've got 9
I like
degrees,
that.
18 degrees.
Kurt checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fine-tuning one that you had on all those hi-fi radios years ago in my time that you keep on turning it never really seemed to do anything. Well, this is much different.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you want to target your supply water temperature right through this. You got a 3-stage operation of the elements that do a lead leg operation. This baby is totally silent, self-purging itself where the air eliminator is. It's just amazing when we see the installs go in and the contractors go, yeah, it was everything you said it was, Dennis. It was it's just as you design, or as the brochure and literature says, it was that easy. And we had one contractor locally purchase one through a wholesaler, and he goes, yeah, I installed it 45 minutes. I go, purged, filled, purged, yep. He go, wow. He goes, worked fantastic. He says, I'm going to buy another one through the wholesaler. I go, fantastic. So obviously the selling points of electric boilers are have some advantages over that of gas systems. There's no maintenance, there's no venting. How about the space constraints? That's a big thing. So you got to have enough room, as far as you got to, find a place to vent the gas boilers, oil boilers that are out there. So it just makes this and so compact to put it in the closet that you don't have to worry about venting. So it makes it a nice selling point over other systems. It's got a basically a 30-month date of manufacturer warranty. So you see it graduates in warranty on the components that are typically 1 year and gives them up to 30 months. Mechanical labor really is where this is going to save the contractor. And when you quantify it, basically you have about 0.7 hours to install our NextGen boiler. And I'm not taking into account every facet of the hydronic system as far as the PEX piping installation, of course. This is just the mechanical piping of it. And this is just based off of a number of interviews with contractors on their typical installation times of their competitor boilers or gas boilers. And of course, the gas is going to be a little bit more because you got the venting issues you got to take care of. But the main thing for the contractor is you're going to have a professional installation each and every time out the door.
I can just about guarantee you that every contractor that is paying attention to this is going to look at that and say, there shouldn't be hours, it should be days.
Yeah.
Well, days to install a gas boiler. It's like, really? It takes this long to do this? Yep, it takes 5.5 days. Okay.
Yeah, and some of it you could say it could be much longer because you got 2 guys on the job.
Yep.
Just to hang the boiler and pipe it down too. So it's the savings of labor is the driving force behind this product, of course, and all the technical and innovative features it has built into it. Now, how about this time component here? Not driving to the wholesaler for forgotten components. I thought I had an air vent in here, and now I got to run 45 miles, or I'll have to do this job and finish it out tomorrow because I didn't have the right component. Well, basically, if you've got copper fittings, piping, elbows, shut-off valves, and you've got your manifold already in place, you can pipe this. It's ready to go. So we sell only through, I should say, wholesale distributors. And it's something that we've setting up our network slowly, and we've partnered with some fantastic sales rep throughout the country and Canada. And it was very reassuring to me, Mark, that when we're at ASHRAE here last year in Chicago, when we're meeting with our sales partners, sales rep partners and how excited they were to get started and deliver the news in this product offering to wholesalers across the country. And I was so lucky to periodically go out there and meet with these guys and get feedback from the market. And boy, that interest is very high on it. And of course, we could use some little cold weather to spur things on, but yeah, the sales are taking off quite nicely on the product.
Trust me, it's snowing at my house in the mountains. I was looking at it through the camera today, and it's snowing.
Great. Well, here in Minnesota, we don't get a lot of snow, but that cold. So we need cold. It turns meters too, so that's good for us. So kind of the wholesale distributor, the benefits is pre-engineered boilers can provide higher profit because you're basically the labor that you were not collecting out there on the job site, you're kind of collecting it on the front end. Is a way to look at it, because you get a little bit higher priced product than that of a competitor's. You got a single SKU, provide the same or more profit than selling a box of components. Kind of to bring that point home, you may have a traditional electric boiler, gas boiler that you sell to your client, but you may not get all the other ancillary components that needed to complete the job. It might be that contractor likes pump A rather than pump B, or he likes expansion A from B. So this is a way to sell the complete system and collect the entire profit margin on the job. Again, we provide a great deal of sales and service support here through our manufacturer sales reps. We have about 12 reps throughout the United States and Canada. And they've been trained, they're poised, and to serve our customer, the wholesaler out there. So we welcome any opportunity to provide sales and service training to the wholesalers through our rep partners or through myself. And we welcome that opportunity that help to grow your business. That obviously is going to grow our business. And really what I want to reiterate that is our customer service is going to be second to none. And that's what has really driven us as an electric utility and a co-op. And you don't really hear that too much from our customers that like their utility. But believe me, our customers, we rank high in the high ASCII score of customer service index across the country in comparison to some very, very large and light-size utilities and stuff. So we're going to provide that excellent customer service to our wholesale partners and contractors. Parts and stock is always going to be here. We hope we don't need them, but obviously they're built by man. So we have those components here. Everything is shipped out of Rockford, and then we have consignment inventory scattered in a couple locations. In fact, in Denver, we have a warehouse over there. And the technical phone support goes along with it as well. And so that, I know we wanted to leave maybe some door open. We're kind of coming to the end here of it. And again, I want to appreciate you, Mark, and the Radiant Professional Alliance for the opportunity to toot our horn on this product and get it out there as another vehicle to inform contractors, because you need different tools in your pockets. And if you're always pulling the gas one can work sometimes, and sometimes that electric product there might be the right fit for your application and the homeowner. And check into the off-peak rates and what's available. I invite, and I did probably the biggest mistake here is by not putting a slide out here, my contact information, but you can certainly reach us through nextgenboiler.com. It's NEXTGEN boiler.com. And I didn't put my phone number information on here, but I'm sure you can get a hold of me some way or another in this information world that we're living in.
That should be your email address too, Dennis.
My email address is dschramel, and I'll spell that DSCHRAMEL @nextgenboiler.com. And I believe it also works under Dennis at nextgenboiler.com. So it's something after being 25 years, I don't know. I have 3 email addresses, but my paycheck stays the same. But I enjoy everything I do, just in case my superiors are listening.
You're high on the IT list, though. You've got 3 email addresses. This man is a hydronic god.
Yes.
Well, Dennis, I want to thank you and your company for being a member of our organization and supporting our efforts to prove to the world something that everybody that's listening to this already knows, that hydronics is the most efficient method of heat transfer from point A to point B or point B to point A or any point in between. And we really do definitely appreciate you taking the time to put this presentation together for our membership body. And do you have anything else, or would you like me to take over again?
No, I just kind of, to finalize the quote there, it's something that a homeowner really shaped my thinking of radiant heating years ago. And it's just things that stick with you, like the industry experts such as yourself, John Barba, Dan Hollahan, Robert Bean, those guys, some heavy hitters in the industry, what they've, things that they've said that always stuck with me. And by far, the homeowner is the most important component in this equation. And I think this really sums it up, is that this lady says, I really don't understand how radiant heating works, but I know what it feels, what it is when I feel it. So it kind of really shapes it up for me that this is why I enjoyed this industry a great deal. I'm so proud to be a part of it.
As a promoter of hydronics for the last 40 years of my life, I've always been a fan of using tubular hydronics, even with an electric heat source, because if you ever spring a leak in the pipe, you can find it. You've got numerous ways of being able to locate that leak, as opposed to using a series resistance cable. And if you lose continuity any point along that cable, you're SOL, especially if it's buried under a tile floor. You can't find the break, and even if you could, you couldn't fix it. So this really represents an excellent opportunity, and I've always said that we shouldn't turn our head away from electric, because it's an opportunity to introduce the consumer to radiant comfort on a small-scale basis. And like you've mentioned before, your wife experienced radiant comfort, and now she wants it to the whole house. And I've actually had customers before where we did a small bathroom with electric radiant, and the next house she built had radiant floors throughout. And it wasn't a question of price. It was a matter of, this house will have this. I don't care what it costs, it will have it. And so they've realized the value of the comfort, and price is not a consideration at that point. They know what they want, and they're willing to pay for it. So it's just a matter of, it's a lot easier to run an electric wire than it is to run a gas line and flue pipe and everything else. It's a small bathroom, a living room, dining room, something that you can latch onto a power source real easy, and set them up with a hydronic radiant heating system, whether it's above the floor, below the floor, in the wall, in the ceiling, wherever it happens to be. Then they get an opportunity to experience radiant comfort, and you can bet you bottom dollar the next house they build is going to be radiant throughout. Yeah, exactly right. And we've had numerous experience of putting on building seminars here with industry experts, and we'd have 40 to 50 potential home builders, and they weren't even in our territory, and they're just coming here to learn about building homes. And then we talk about the technologies. Of course, we're biased with electric technologies, but we keep telling people that as a homeowner, you pay attention to the aesthetic things, which you need to. You want resale, you want to enjoy the comforts of nice things, but we try to educate them that you're paying that on your mortgage, but you're also paying for your heating system on your mortgage, and you're paying it on your monthly bill. So you better be sure you're going to be comfortable doing that. Yep. And how many people have done it with forced air heating that they have later, what I said earlier in the program, they could have, would have, should have. I wish I would have done that. I could have done that, and my builder talked me out of it. Or so, that's the type of I think today, and where the Radiant Professional Alliance is and educating people, we have a long ways to go, but we got a lot of opportunity. Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. Well, I would like to thank all of our attendees for taking time out of their busy schedule to come and listen into this show. And as noted before, it will be available via YouTube. As soon as we get it uploaded, I'll send a notice out to our 9,000 point email listeners. and get everybody into attendance on that. And here comes that commercial again. Join the Radiant Professionals Alliance at radiantpros.org. If you are a member, do us a favor and ask somebody else to join. This is an industry-supported organization, and we welcome all comers. We've got manufacturers reps, engineers, designers, installers, contractors, everybody. It's a very large family, and it's an organization of the members, by the members, for the members, with all the members benefiting from the work of everybody. Kurt is actually on our committee. He's on our committee that's setting up certification process, and I see also that Richard McGrath is here, and I see I have some questions that would like to be asked. I think that I'm going to go ahead and turn Kurt on with his microphone. Kurt, are you there?
I am here. I don't know if you can hear the mic or not.
I can hear you. Can you hear him, Dennis?
Yes, I can.
You had a question. Go ahead and ask your question.
I have a few of them. I have been, just to give you a little background, I am located about 12 hours south of Mark here in a little corner of New Mexico in the mountains. And we are in a situation here where our propane is 15% higher than the national average, and our gas is about half the national average in price. So out here, electric resistance and propane are within about 4% of each other. So on smaller systems in particular, I mean, that's assuming an 80% boiler, but small systems, there really is not a gas boiler out there that does 20,000 BTU houses. It doesn't exist. So we've been using electric radiant in those locations, and typically these are efficient houses with passive solar design anyway, so the radiant just doesn't run all that much. So I think it's an interesting market if you know how to approach it. The boost question had to do with setbacks, and this would be a simple software change for you guys, and it's not something the Europeans are used to dealing with because they don't do setbacks, but Americans like to. We can usually talk a homeowner out of it, but we have a number of commercial customers whose offices are simply not occupied in the evenings and weekends, and there's really no reason to heat them. So what the boost feature does in a typical condensing boiler is when a thermostat call comes, if the call is not met within X minutes, it just raises the temperature above the ODR curve by a certain, say, 5 or 10 degrees. And then if it's not met in X minutes again, it raises it again. And that allows, without a lot of fancy programming, it allows the outdoor reset controlled boiler to come back from a setback without a lot of whiz-bang effort that we can certainly do on the side. But the point is, if you get these things running right, you tune the outdoor reset curve to the point where the thermostat should never really go off. It's really a high limit control. And when you do that, if you throw a setback in, you run into some challenges. So,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
and that's the reason that we've never really promoted setbacks with radiant systems. It's you're trying to keep that mass charged. If you let it discharge, then you've got to recover it again.
Oh, yeah, we try to talk people out of it, but there's also cases where we have. In fact, I got a job next week where we're replacing I think it's a 260,000 BTU ray pack with a 11.5 kilowatt electric boiler because he only has enough baseboard in to use that much.
Wow.
But in that case, I need those 180 degree temps because I know that he's under radiated. He's comfortable, so there's not a problem. But so there are cases where we're going to need the higher temp. But it looks like you guys have a nice package there, and I really like the fact that you've got some controls. We've been using Thermalec boilers out of Canada, and they have outdoor reset, but it's not really adjustable. It just so happens that their set points match our design temp here, but we're lucky.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Thermalec. They're a good company out there. Got a good market share. Yeah, it's just a different animal, taking some European technology that's in there in the controls and the control panel features that really set this apart, as well as the boiler room in the box. And
then if you're selling European technology, you've got pumps in there that I think are illegal in Europe. Would you consider putting an ECM circulator in these things as an option?
Some of the thinking that we had when we just wanted to get it off the ground, Kurt, and going and not trying to cause too much waves with the manufacturers and get it to market and get you well approved. And And it's something that we're going to share with them and to see what kind of options of changing of that pump, because I've been approached by certain manufacturers here in the States here of saying, hey, you know, we like to see this colored pump in here with these, you know, with this type of control. So maybe in the future.
Great controls in there, and you have flow sensors and you have temperature sensors, you should be managing the pump speed with your own controller.
Sure.
Because you can, if I got a radiant floor and I dial in a 15-degree delta T, or if I've got, you know, old cast iron radiators and I dial in a 30-degree delta T, it'll run beautifully, and you're almost there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a great add-on feature that we can incorporate here on the next versions, or perhaps even on the higher temp units too. On the early go rounds.
You bet, Dennis.
Thank you
for
also asked
if there were triacs on the elements, or are they just like a single position relay? And my question is, are they SSRs or are they contactors?
They are triacs, and the only time you're going to hear these contactors that you see in the top portion of right above the control panel is upon power up. It's the only time you're going to hear those. Otherwise, everything is smooth controlled switching. The triacs are there, switching on there and turn on the elements accordingly.
Interesting. Kurt, I'm going to turn you off. Thank you very much for attending and your questions. Excellent as usual, and I'll be talking to you soon about what's going on with our ASSE committee.
Good.
I'm going to put your microphone off, and I'm going to turn Richard's on. Hello, Richard. Richard McGrath, are you here? Rich, do you have your microphone muted?
Oh, I think he does.
Rich went to dinner.
Can you hear me, Mark?
There he is. Yes, I can hear you, Richard.
Okay.
Richard's also on a committee. Richard's on 3 committees.
Yeah, 3 of them.
What's your question?
Thanks, Richard, for joining.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
What was your question?
I did not have a question.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, well,
no.
Thank you for joining us. What do you think of the product?
Richard just wanted to say hi to me.
I did, Dennis. Hey, Mark, you know what, too, would be good? A start time for this thing on the communication.
Oh, there wasn't one?
No.
Oh, that's my boffo. That's what happens when you're going 100 miles an hour in 100 different directions at once.
Oh, you can't be in 3 states in one day.
I've been on vacation for 6 months. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll make sure that we catch it on the next round. Actually, I thought I included that, and it probably got dropped somewhere, but I'll take responsibility for it and make sure
send me the ASSE stuff too.
Sure, you betcha.
All right.
Hey, that's a Minnesota term you just said there. You betcha.
You betcha.
No, you betcha.
All right, gentlemen, have a good day.
All right, Rich, we'll talk to you later. Dennis, I think we're done for the evening.
Yeah.
And again, I would like to thank you and Wright Hannafin for allowing you to come in here and speak to us about this product, and wish you all the luck in the world and look forward to seeing you hopefully in Orlando, Florida. Have you come to the party and meet Mr. Holohan and Mr. Bean, and hopefully Mr. Siegenthaler and all the other usual wetheads will be there. I know Dave Yates will be there. He's coming down to do a presentation for us, and we've got a good group of people.
You bet. I can't wait to shake some hands, shake your hand again here. It's been a while since we seen each other, so I'm looking forward to that event, and we'll talk about some burning the candle on both ends and being in 3 states in the same day.
Sounds like a winner. Well, take care and have yourself a good evening.
Very good. You too, sir. Bye.
Bye.